Hey guys, what's up? So what's the deal here? Today we're going to talk about Team Fortress 2 Espionage Episode 5 Diplomacy. This episode was made back before the Soldier and Demo update, I believe. So this is way before the Letron J, Enforcer, or Diamondback were added to the game. So this is really far back in the day. This was like maybe four, no, not even, no, it's way after 4 months. This is like a good 6, 8 months after the Spy and Sniper update came out. So this is way back in the day. This is a pretty old video, but at the time it was a pretty good analysis of the revolvers and their perks and their cons and you know. So gonna get started on it. Let's go ahead. Yeah, I remember the intro. With each intro, I kind of wanted to do something different, so it signifies that this is a new video, and they're not like it's not a cheap retread of something you've already seen before or anything. It keeps it interesting, basically, and it makes people more inclined to keep watching. It gets their attention right away. I'm sorry, to like the third or fourth take of me doing this, so I'm a little bit out of breath. But anyway, like I said before, this is just a analysis of the two revolvers that were available at the time. Back before the polycount sets were added and the Enforcer was added and Team Fortress 2 had promotionals and all that stuff, there was just two revolvers, the Ambassador and the Revolver, and it was very much just um, the analysis I think I first used was like it was like a combat knife versus a scalpel. The combat knife is, it's a weapon. It's designed to be a weapon. And the revolver is definitely, that's what it's best at. It's best as a self-defense weapon. It's not so great for long-range attacks, but it does your basic stuff very easily. You can kill people who are low on health, like I'm doing right here, and it's good for destroying buildings from afar. It's good for a backup plan in case something happens to you. Like in case you miss a stab and that person's already low on health, or whatever it may be. It basically does everything you need it to. It's a very reliable weapon, but it's just not my personal taste. I mean, I can go on and on about how great of a gun it is. It's just not my personal taste, me personally. I don't know why. I really do not know why. I can't, like, every time I use the revolver, I just get so sick of it so quickly. Because I can't seem to fucking hit anything with it. And the thing is, I have a strange Letron J now, or Letron J. I'm not sure how you say it right now, but um, I have a strange one, and I use that gun a lot more in the revolver, and I don't have anywhere near the same amount of problems that I have with the revolver. That like it works so much better for me. I can always hit my mark. I always manage to hit people where I want to hit them. And I don't get that kind of success with a revolver, and it makes no sense to me. I really don't get it. I have no Valve Ninja buff to Letron J or what, but I just have so much more success with the Letron J as a weapon. So like whenever I don't want to use the Ambassador, I want a little change of pace. I get my Letron J and I just fuck around for the most part. But back in the day, this was a really good gun. It really is still a good gun to this day, and it's one of the reasons why so many of us, like when the Enforcer was introduced, we got so fucking pissed because it just really didn't seem necessary to introduce the exact same gun with buff damage and like virtually no downside for the Dead Ringer. It just really doesn't make any sense to introduce something like that to the game. I mean, unless they're trying to get like a degreaser or an extinguisher or a equalizer for spy, which is basically like a straight upgrade. Okay, I get that, but that's not good game design. So that's a topic for another day. And yeah, with the introduction of the Ambassador, I wanted to do something incredibly epic. I really wanted to kind of get this notion in people's minds that this is a completely underrated weapon, because at the time I can't begin to tell you how many people like thought the ambassador needed a buff. Hell, I thought the ambassador needed a buff when I first started playing Spy, because this is like when I started playing Spy. I had about 100 hours of the vanilla load up before they introduced the Spy versus Sniper update, and at the time I thought the ambassador was like it's too hard to use, and oh my god, this thing is so fucking useless, and like oh my god, I was bitching like everybody else, but I just kept with it. I kept practicing and got so used to it, and eventually it just worked. It's just a matter of practice and being diligent, and once you get good enough with it, you can do some crazy shit like what I'm doing right here. At the time, this was insane. This kind of stuff, like, no one's seen this before. Like, I'm essentially sniping with a revolver at, like, sniper range. It's essentially doing the job of two classes, spy and sniper, in one. And this kind of stuff, like, at the time, were just, like, going ballistic when I introduced this. Because they didn't, I mean, they probably seen it in game, but they've never seen, like, an archived, like, video record of it. Or, like a tutorial of how to use it. There are a few montages of people using the ambassador, but not very many. There's very, very few, and most of them were before they nerfed it. And how they did that was they added a cooldown where like you had to wait like what's it like 0.95 seconds before you can crit again with the ambassador. Before then, you can just spam bullets, and if the bullet by chance hit them in the head, it counted as a headshot. So you could just hold down the M1 button and get lucky headshots like crazy, which was obviously overpowered as shit. So they nerfed it. But like I said before, like this kind of thing, like at the time, like no one really, they didn't know how to react to it. But it really made me feel good to kind of go from like bitching about the ambassador and how useless it is to being like, oh my god, this is the best fucking gun ever. And I'm just so glad I stuck with it, because now it's like it feels like an extension of my own hand at times. It really does. It feels like when I use my mouse, it feels like I'm not using a mouse. It actually feels like I'm actually holding the gun in my hand and I'm shooting at someone with a fucking revolver. That's how like immersed I become in this game when I use this gun. Or actually just in the game in general, I just get so like into it, and it's one of the reasons why I keep coming back. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. But after I analyzed both the revolvers, I decided from there, after I gave a compare and contrast, just to talk solely about the ambassador and analyze like how to use it, its advantages, and how to use it in game. Because once you get to a certain point with the ambassador, it becomes more of a utility weapon than an actual gun. Like it becomes like I said, it's like a scalpel. It becomes more of a tool than a gun. And considering how much utility the original revolver already had, the ambassador is like amplifying that twofold. You can do anything you can do with the revolver, you can essentially do with the ambassador. It just requires an intense amount of concentration to do. You have to really know how to aim with it and really get used to it. And once you get used to it, you can do. It's basically an upgrade in that regard. And that's another reason why people don't like the Enforcer, because the thing about the Ambassador that made it balanced and not completely overpowered is that it had a very high skill versus risk ratio. It had an increased amount of risk because you can't fire nearly as fast, it does less damage, but if you have the skill to handle it, it's potentially more powerful than a revolver is. And that's what made these two weapons very, very balanced at the time. It was just so perfect that when they tried to introduce new guns, we had no idea what they're gonna make. I mean, you gotta understand, this is back when they first introduced this stuff, and we didn't see a replacement for the knife at the time because, well, fuck, we couldn't come up with anything. I mean, the only thing we had was the lethal injection, but that didn't get in because it was just would have been ridiculous. It, I mean, you can look up the thread, but we basically just kind of said no, that's ridiculous because it basically allows you to play God with people. And when they finally introduced the eternal reward, we were just like, oh my god, this is just like the ambassador versus the revolver. The eternal reward and the regular knife are so finely balanced. It just blew our minds, you know. At least those who really like enjoyed Spy at the time, and we started playing like hardcore and got really into it. Most of the guys who are electronic espionage right now are those kind of people. We really kind of started playing Spy roughly between um, from the Scout update to all the way back as far as the beginning of the game. You know, I mean, I came after Subtle Arts time, for instance, and I started playing the game, and um, it was only about maybe 3 or 4 months later they came out with the Spy versus Sniper update, and I really started playing the game seriously. So, but getting too nostalgic here. Like I said, like with this episode, I kind of want to analyze both the revolvers and give compare and contrast. But with I, as I got continue as I continued to play Spy, I found out there was a lot more with the ambassador I wanted to talk about, like class strategies, more advanced techniques, combat strategies, uses of the crits from range. You know, like it just got ridiculous how much I wanted to talk to him about the ambassador, and that's basically where Skull Pledgery came from. The whole section of ranged backstabs, like what you saw there, like that's a ranged backstab. Essentially, just allowing the spy to assassinate the target from a safe distance and not put himself at any risk. The only risk is that you have to have really good aim to do it. And then I went into like combat strategies, like how to use the ambassador against certain classes, and which ones you should avoid, and which ones are what classes have the advantage against, and weaknesses you can exploit of each class. Like with snipers, when they aim down their scope or pull back their bow, they move slower than normal for a brief period of time. And with pyros, as long as you stay out of the range of their flamethrower, they can't touch you. I really want to go into all that stuff and really analyze it. And it just really kind of took off from there. But unfortunately, when I wanted to talk about this stuff, that's when the polycount set and the polycount update started coming out, and I was just like, fuck! Because I have all these ideas, all these things I want to do, and now they're coming out with new fucking guns and knives and shit, and I don't have the time to do all this stuff. So, needless to say, like, when all these videos, like when I finished episode 7, for instance, that was literally like a month or two after the polycount update, the Manco update, actually. So, I really kind of had to, take my time and really kind of, bust my ass with these videos, because I really wanted to make these videos good, but at the same time I didn't. But at the same time I was trying to rush them as much as I possibly could, because there's just all this stuff coming out, and I was afraid like a new update would like ruin my demos and make all my stuff obsolete, or there'd be so much stuff that would be coming out for Spy that I wouldn't be able to keep up. I wouldn't be able to post the videos fast enough. And yeah, I remember the outro here. Like I said before, I kind of want to leave a certain impression on people whenever the episode ends. But in regards to these the new stuff for coming out for Spy, I don't mind most of the guns. It's just some stuff like I don't feel is worth talking about. Like the Big Earner and the Enforcer, I don't feel they're worth talking about. But the Diamondback and Kunai, despite how situational they can be, they actually do have some good niche uses for them, and they have certain like advantages that the other guns don't have or the other knives don't have. have. So that's why I feel it's necessary to talk about them. But like at the time, like this is just stuff that like at the time we never. Things are just so much simpler back in the day, you know. I'm starting to realize why people like hate Team Fortress 2 in its current state. Things are just so much simpler back in the day when we didn't have to worry about free to play and the Manco store and all this stuff. But yeah, it's episode 5 diplomacy. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you haven't watched Soul Pledgery yet, I recommend you go ahead and go watch that, because that really goes more in depth with the ambassador than this episode does, and it really kind of shows off everything you need to know about that gun. As the revolver is very simple. You can pick it up and use it very quickly. It shouldn't be that hard to use. If you're one of those enforced spies, fuck you. Use the revolver. Learn how to play spy like we all did. You're not gonna get any better with spy if you don't learn the basics. And I don't mean like, oh, just use a dead ringer. No. Learn the vanilla loadout. The best way to learn any class is to use the vanilla loadout. Start off small and gradually get better. And when you get better with the class, figure out how all these other unlocks apply to your playstyle. You'll gradually become better and better at the game when you do that. I think that's how I learned. But anyway, enough. The video is over and I'm still talking. I'm going to go to bed. Good night. Take care. Love y'all. Thanks for watching.